allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Thank you for coming or watching on TV, since there's no one in the room at the moment. Heather, do you want me to come back to you?
No, I'm ready.
So first thing on the agenda is the town administrator's report. Hi, Randall.
Evening.
All right, so just some brief things so far. The first one is the generator. We actually ended up going with the repair side. It's going to be under $3,000. They're ordering the part now, which I believe was the stator. And between that and the service for 2 days straight of two different electricians to service the machine, it's going to put us around $3,000. We're hoping to have that done by the end of the month.
Where's that money coming from?
That's going to be coming right now out of the building expenses for the town hall building, which is the police station.
Okay.
So, in the meantime, we actually have used the backup generator that we borrowed from Holyoke a couple times due to some of the large thunderstorms we've had over the past couple months. Maintenance of building issues, where we are with that, we've had a preventive maintenance building group meeting twice now. It's been myself, John Martin, Charlie Kanicki, Randall, and Art Lawrence. And we've actually covered quite a bit of ground and figured out any more issues that were going on, and also tried to figure out how to address the ones that are there. We meet again at the end of the month to check in on our progress. One of the conversations that came up at the last meeting was to look at doing a work order system. Notion for this is essentially, John actually gets full credit for this one, that's why he's smiling over there. The work order system actually came from the notion of being able to consolidate services. We had done it once before, just simply we need an electrician at 3 different buildings at once, and we call them, and it saved us quite a bit of money because we only had to pay for 1 service call, which is very helpful. So not only is the working on putting together a work order system for maintenance in the buildings beneficial in financial aspect, but it's also helpful because it gives us a tracking system. Although right now we can easily look up if we have to call Elm Electrical or SNE for the HVAC system. This is much easier and better because we can file it by different building, and we can also say exactly what they had to come do. So at the end of the year, if we had to call Elm Electrical 7 times for the same building, for the same problems, we can identify further issues, and also gives us a basis to look at when we move forward to looking at new buildings like a public safety complex. And the question comes down to how much are you spending on maintenance on each item? We can actually detail it out for them. Let's see what else we're working on here. A couple things that have been resolved. Mr. Gutter has come. He has come and worked on this building and also the town hall building or the police department. And if you notice on the side of the Council on Aging, there's now a gutter up. It's one long piece. It looks very shiny and pretty. And once it rains, we'll let you know how effective it is. And there's also one over at Town Hall. Prior to that, in the very front of the building last year, the gutters had to be taken down because they were causing massive flooding with the water just dropping through. It was going in between the concrete blocks and actually caused us several thousands of dollars of damage last year in the electrical for the 911 system. So this will prevent that. The ADA doors have come, been installed. The buttons work beautifully, finally. The next piece is the railing for outside. Charlie's been working on that. That will be a CPC project potentially of getting the guardrail going down the ramp all the way over to the Council on Aging parking lot, and also something to hold on to on the wall itself of the building, so if someone's traveling, they can get there.
Also a small rail over by your window,
I
in
suppose.
case you fall out or something, yeah.
Yeah. People come to the window all the time to order ice cream, so they want to have a place to hold on to. We can do a service tray there, too. Some new issues we did discover in the PM meeting was the foundation cracks around this building. Apparently, usually what happens is there's, Charlie helps stress. Thank you, Randall. Expansion joints that are put every 20 foot 20 feet in the buildings. When this one was built, they were not put there, so they formed themselves. And when they formed themselves, they caused a little more trouble, so we're trying to get some quotes on what it would cost to fill in the ones that are the major issues.
If we do not fill them in, they're going to fill them with water, and then the ice is going to expand, and we're going to have a bigger opening.
We are currently waiting on Randall to get us a quote, which he's waiting to hear back from the guy. You already have it? Oh, beautiful. All right, other things. Elevators to be inspected this month. S&E comes this month to do their inspections of the sprinkler system. Eversource, I have met with the gentleman from Eversource regarding an energy efficiency survey and options. Generally, what happens is they come in, they can take a look at all of our electrical use and also our HVAC systems. They make recommendations. Eversource generally funds by grant 50% of the cost. The other 50% they fund you in a 0% essential loan going forward, and what ends up happening is they balance it out so that, say this month you normally would pay $50, but the change of the light bulbs reduced your bill to $40, they're still going to bill you at $50. You're going to start paying off that additional loan with that $10 that's going in towards the bill. So it doesn't change anything ultimately for us at the beginning, but it is more cost and energy efficient. Over a couple years, we'll start netting the credits.
Have they gotten into the attic and that whole issue?
They haven't walked around the building yet. They're getting copies of our electrical bills, looking into some things, and then they are going to set up an appointment to look at every single one of our town's buildings to make an assessment and recommendation. I hope to have that information before the next PM meeting at the end of the month.
I can see we're going to have a long list.
Oh, yes. Department head meeting we had on Thursday. Most folks came. There were goals that are currently underway for different departments. When asked to present goals, here's some of them. The treasurer's office is currently working on cross-training. Jean to do both treasurer and collector stuff. In years past, what used to happen is one person was trained as the assistant treasurer, one person was trained as the assistant collector, and neither of them could do the other person's job or understand the other person's duties. In this case, they're going to be both cross-trained so that they can take care of anything if Donna is absent. Makes the office more efficient. You don't have to wait for one individual. The Board of Health is currently working on new well regulations, or rather reinstating some of the old ones and updating them for private wells. Town Clerk's Office is currently working on the compilation list of all accepted streets. At the department head meeting, we also discussed credit cards. In the past, we've had a lot of discussion on this matter. What ends up happening if we have to buy an annual service or an annual anything, someone's using their personalized credit card in order to purchase it and then get reimbursed later. So we're trying to come up with another system to do it that is both easy to account for and is able to have maintenance of control over, so folks can't just do it whatever they wish, but more so there'd be, for instance, 2 cards in the entire town. You have to sign them out or get someone to go with you to purchase something. But it would allow us better regulation on it, and also would get away from the notion of having people reimbursed for large purchases, which we try to avoid. We started talking at the last department head meeting, FY16, FY17 budget process. That's on the discussion item for tonight, so I'm not going to get into it too much. The annual town report to begin, and folks should be starting to work on that as they see things that are up and coming in their departments that are noteworthy, so they don't have to start everything from scratch come December. It's a goal in that piece. Other projects currently underway, we're consolidating the HR files still, preventive maintenance meetings at the end of the month. Monthly board committee commission representative meeting is tomorrow at 6. Final review of financial guidebook is underway, waiting for the capital improvement committee to meet. They rescheduled their meeting to September 17th. 3-year finance plan is still in progress. Still have discussions on the credit debit cards. We're looking at dog bylaws still and adding some language. We also have a couple things up and coming for the special town meeting. And Charlie's looking in his book, which makes me nervous. What did I forget?
Nothing.
Okay.
You are just extraordinary.
Wonderful, wonderful. That's pretty much all I have on that. One other thing is there is a Leadership Pioneer Valley program that's run based out of Springfield. It is a leadership program. It's like $3,500 annually. I got a $3,000 grant, so we only have to cover the $450 for the town, which is pretty good. It's a year-long program. I will be doing classes until June. It's a course a month from 8:30 to 4, all throughout the Pioneer Valley. And it is then a 8-hour project a week with various members of the group. So it will be a very busy fall. Great. Any other questions for me? Excellent. I'll return to my seat now.
Thank you. Select board updates and liaison reports. Anybody?
Yes, please, thank you.
Can you turn your microphone on? And then move it towards you.
Okay, I talked to Nelda, nothing going on right now in the zoning board, and I have nothing for the Southampton Preservation Committee, but I do want to mention the Angel Heart Memorial. We're having a vigil on Saturday, September 26th at 7 p.m., and we're asking parents to bring a candle.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Master Planning Committee is going to meet next week, and the Greenway Negotiating Committee will be meeting again, I believe it's next week or the week after. Check my calendar.
Charlie, anything? PPB meets Thursday. School committee meets at the end of the month. They met a couple weeks ago to talk about various things, but that's about it. Reports from departments. So the first is a review of the town budget with Vicki. She wasn't able to be here tonight, but she did give us a brief report. She says that she's still working on closing out the fiscal 15 books, and she's shooting to have that complete by the end of September. She doesn't have any major concerns over the fiscal 16 budget at this time, and welcomes any comments or questions via email or phone if you need her. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to ask that I'm sure Heather can relay via email. One is, when do we expect free cash to be certified, and do we need to change the date of the meeting, or is the meeting in October okay? Does she have an estimate of free cash? And maybe that's an unrealistic thing to ask, but just wondering. And any concerns or updates that she has over the new PO system, if it's working, not working, or changes that she may or may not want to see to that system. Is there anything anybody would like to add to that?
I sent Heather an email asking about the Barnes Act for advisory grant money that we give to Pioneer Valley Planning. I'd like clarification as to what that money's being used for. I was on that original committee 20 years ago, and I just don't see what we're getting out of that $2,000 a year now.
Okay. So I'll put that in there. Anybody else have any questions or concerns to send off to Vicki? John? No. Okay. Can you pass this down to Emily? So the next item on the agenda is quarterly check-in with departments, and I see Randall here. I don't see police, fire, Board of Health, or...
Fire's on the way over.
Okay, so in order to do this all at once, Randall, do you have to go right away? Can I skip ahead? Sure. Are you sure? Okay. I'm going to skip ahead to the Board of Assessors because I know that they would like to get out of here tonight, and so since they just walked in, we're going to move to them. So ladies, I'm sure we'll have questions, but if you could just be at the podium so those at home can hear you, because I'm sure Ann knows if you're not standing at the podium, you can't hear what they're saying. So the Board of Assessors have asked us to reconsider the retro pay for Shannon Cutler in the Board of Assessors office. At the last meeting, the Board of Selectmen discussed that effective dates of positions go into effect after the last signature is obtained. So if you remember, we were having some conversation about the effective date at the top of the PCF as opposed to having all 3 signatures and the date being effective at the day after the last signature. So this is a request to retro pay back to the beginning of the fiscal year. Ann Darcy's here in case we have questions. And so let me say that I've been going over this in my head over and over and over again, trying to figure out really what is the issue here. So if somebody's doing additional work and their job description has changed, then should they be compensated? Generally, I would say yes to that question. The question then becomes, when do you make it retroactive? So although I agree with what we did the day after, I don't think that's clear for department heads or anybody. If you have an effective date at the top and then 4 different dates on the bottom, when is it really effective? And so I guess my question for the Board of Assessors is, if you want this to be retroactive to July 1st, but the Board of Assessors didn't sign off on it until July 28th, that would make me say that that's when the position was approved, the 28th. Does that make sense?
I believe that we signed off on a prior commitment that was bounced back to us with some legitimate questions,
Okay.
so we redid it.
And then signed off on the 28th.
Right, but with an effective date of July 1st. Now, that was never in question when it was bounced back to us.
The effective date?
The effective date, to our understanding, was approved. Now, I did listen to some of the discourse that happened at the last meeting, and I do not think that it's unreasonable to put the new language in that says it cannot be effective prior to
Because
having...
it's confusing.
It is confusing, and not only that, that's good, solid business practice. The issue I have, though, quite honestly, is changing the rules in the middle of the game. I think that that should have been made clear to us at the beginning. We were operating under the premise that we have an employee working in good faith, rightly expecting to be compensated, and then to hear, well, we're going to do it moving forward, but we're not going to go back to this July 1st date, even though we did this pretty much as quickly as we heard that our principal assessor was leaving her post.
Okay, so then let me ask this question. Since it's a temporary position, that means that this PCF is good for 12 weeks.
That's correct. I believe it expires September 23rd.
So I have the 16th.
September 16th?
12 weeks from July 1st would be September 16th.
Yes, okay, then
Right.
I don't have a calendar, but I would agree with that.
Okay, so if you retroact to then, that means that the pay is up at that point, in which case you're going to hire for that position,
We're
so,
working on that right now.
right, so my question then becomes, is there a PRF in place? Has the job description been submitted and posted? And will you be ready to hire at that point? Because if that's the case, then on September 17th, the person in the Board of Assessors office would go back to their pay of $15.
Unless we ask for an extension, which we could do effective that time. I'm not certain, I can't speak to that, we haven't taken a vote. All I
Yes, I'm
can,
concerned about the time frame at this, even,
Certainly.
you know,
Yeah,
12
no,
weeks
I
from
can
July
appreciate
1st
that.
is soon.
And we are meeting every week, so we are being as diligent as we can be in terms of crafting a job description that will encompass, we have a lot going on in terms of, is it better to hire another assessor? Can we get one for the pay grade that we're looking at? Are we better outsourcing? Then you don't have to pay benefits. You contract with somebody who already has the certifications, but you still need to keep this office a going concern day in, day out. I'm brand new, and I apologize for a lot of my ignorance. I feel like I got sucked into a vortex, and I'm enjoying every bit of it, but I don't have all your answers. And if there's anything you'd like to add, Joanne, please feel free. So that's where we're at. We're working diligently, we're meeting every week, we're looking at a new job description, we're looking at subcontracting, we're trying to be a guardian of the taxpayers' money and to do it as economical as possible while also being fair to somebody who's in the office who we're asking more of day in, day out.
So can temporary positions be extended? Heather, do you have the answer to that? Can you request an extension of a temporary position?
I want to say in the past they've done it, but going back to what Liz said, is if the board follows the operations that they started last time, which is the effective date is the day after the last signature, even if you were to extend the temporary position, the paperwork would have to be approved by everyone relevant prior to
September
September
16th.
17th,
Right.
or in the meantime, the person goes back to the original pay and would continue at that said pay until such time that the form gets approved again. Because if we're going with the notion that something does not take effect until every single person is signed, if the deed date on this whole piece is September 16th, September 17th 's the new day, everything, just all the temporary stuff disappears until something else is in place.
Point taken. So I guess what I would say, and it hasn't been voted on or vetted out through the board, is there might be some interruption in the services that are being provided to our constituents and our stakeholders. Based on that, because then, and I agree with the policy, I think that that is a home run, it makes it very clear. I think what would happen at that point in time is the person would have to go back to their old duties and do what they can, and and we would have to have a slight gap until we decided whether we were going to either move forward with the job description that we have crafted and go through the hiring process, which I know is laborious. You have to post it. We have to set up all the interviews and the meetings, but we are doing our due diligence.
Fair enough.
Liz,
Yes.
just so you know, from the chair of the PPB who watches diligently at home, he's under the impression that they cannot extend it. That's what he just sent me. That a temporary position can't be extended.
So you guys are going on record saying that we have never had a precedent where we have extended a temporary position, because I want that clear, because the way I roll is I need facts. So if you tell me that, but I will tell you this, quite honestly, if I find out subsequent that there has been a position or a precedent set where a temporary position has been extended, I will be back to question.
Well, I guess let me put my comment in there. One of the things that happened in the past, prior to this board being here, the caveat is always good, is that there was positions that were extended on and on and on, and did I say on? It was just inappropriately done, and we've made a decision that we're going to follow the rules with the PQB as well as the other committees and not let exceptions go through, because every time there's an exception, it's a precedent.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's true, too.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
So,
again, you would bring it up rightfully so, like I would in your position, but,
Correct.
so we're trying not to create precedents once we set the
no,
standard.
and I appreciate that. I think that's good. And I guess what I'm saying is it's not more like I'm going to go back 5 years and watch reruns of select board
Right.
meetings, although I'm sure that would be fascinating. If I were to watch a meeting and see that a temporary position was extended, I would take issue with that. So really, this is a double-edged sword. You're making a decision here that it's good on both, cuts both ways.
But I think the key is that whatever we make a decision on with you, the next person up is going to be the same decision.
Great, that's
And
awesome.
I think sometimes it's hard, but it's fair.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. If that's the course of action the board wants to take, then it's moving forward and,
Charlie?
The question in front of the board is, do we pay the retroactive pay? That's the question.
And the date, and so, so here's the thing. When was,
Yeah.
the initial PCF submitted.
no, what is the woman's name that left? It's right on the tip of my tongue.
Lori.
Lori, thank you. When was Lori's official last day?
Her official last day was, oh, boy.
It wasn't July 1st.
No,
July 16th.
July 16th, great.
Okay. So here's, at that point, you would essentially be paying two people. If you put this retroactive to July 1st, and if you disagree with me, it's okay, tell me. Essentially be paying two people to do the same job from July 1st to July 16th, whether or not she was in the building, out of the building, on vacation, or whatever the case may be, right? Essentially, you're paying two people. If you took and made the date effective, even the day that the Board of Assessors signed off on this PCF, which is the 28th, then that would buy you, and I don't mean to say buy you,
I get
but
it.
give
No,
you
I
more
get it.
time to get things in a row and figured out. So that would give you until October 20th, which is more than a month to give you some more time to figure it out.
I can't make that decision unilaterally.
I just want to put it out there that,
I would say that we would like the retroactive, that's what I've been charged to address the select
Okay.
board with, is the back pay.
Yeah.
And I guess my response to having two people do the same job, if I were running a business, and I look at every endeavor that I'm involved in as if it was my own business, sometimes you have to do that in order to make sure people have training and an understanding of the depth and the scope of the job. So for the few days that they overlap, because my understanding is Lori took some personal time, she wasn't always in the office, that's money well spent.
Fair enough. So what would the board like to do? I mean, I think the conversation has been very clear, and it's certainly helpful to have the Board of Assessors in the room when you're having these conversations. You know, I know in the PQB, it's really hard to make those choices on whether you sign things when the people submitting the paperwork aren't in the room to ask the questions of, and so of all of the conversations we've had about this is the easiest one to have. So the board needs to decide whether they would like to make that pay retroactive to July 1st, knowing at this point that the temporary position is up on the 16th. I know that Art says that they can't be renewed. I trust him as the chairman of the PQB, although I can't physically put my eyes on that in the bylaw at the moment. But the board needs to decide what they want to do.
Well, I move that we pay the retroactive pay to July 1st.
Retroactive July 1st, knowing the temporary position expires on the 16th.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, it's one of these positions, I think you can be the bad guy or whatever, but I think the reason we made that vote is because that was clear from the PQB, that was the intent going along, and I think we need to support them because in the past, we've vacillated all over the place. So from my point of view, she'll get paid 12 weeks either way. I think we should stick to our original discussion, if you will, because of, if we don't stick to the guidelines and the rules, I think everybody coming up is going to point to all these different sways like they have in the past. So,
So when you say stick to the guidelines and the rules, you mean what?
according to talking to the PQB, the rule was it was supposed to be after the original or last signature, the date of last signature. It wasn't fully in writing as we understand
Not when we
it.
submitted it, that was not my
Well,
understanding.
my understanding, it was, although it wasn't fully written down, it was the understanding of the process. That's why you needed all the signatures.
But then why was it approved effective? I guess my question would be, if it were me sitting on that board, and I always try to put another hat on, is I would probably make a note, cross out the effective day, and say it needs to be made effective such and such a date. That wasn't done. So I just get concerned that we are not operating in good faith with our employees. That's my question. And I'm still learning the ins and outs and who reports to whom. And my understanding is if the Board of Assessors takes a vote, that, you know, it's more of just a paperwork trail that we need with the PPPB. And don't quote me on that, because I'm still learning, and I have my book that I refer to constantly for that.
Yeah, nothing's official before it goes through the PQB, Finance Committee, then the Select Board. And that's the way I went.
Oh, I thought you were flipping right to the right page for me. Not so much, huh?
That would be too easy.
Exactly.
So, anybody else want to say anything?
No, I'm undecided, but. Well, there's a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any other discussion? No? So I'll accept a vote. All those in favor of making this pay retroactive to July 1st, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
And I'm going to abstain because I would like to see, and I'm abstaining because I want to make sure that I have the information correct before I say yes or no. I don't think I've ever done that. But I want to make sure, excuse me? Thanks. I want to make sure that I'm clear in what I'm voting yes or no to. So that being said, the motion passes 2-1, and the pay will be retroactive to July 1st with the PCF expiring on September 16th.
Okay, great. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you
I
for
really
coming in. I
appreciate it.
appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thanks.
And just so you know, I checked with the treasurer's office, and they said they would pay it out the next payroll cycle. Because it's too late for this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck in your new job.
Thanks, I'll need it.
So we're going to move back up to item C. We're on a quarterly check-in with the Public Safety Department. At prior meetings, the board has decided to meet regularly with the departments and boards to check in. We'll be meeting with a representative from each of them tonight to get a brief report on what's happening in their department, any concerns that they have, and anything the Board of Selectmen can help them with. So first, I'll take the Police Department. Not here. Fire Department. Hi, Mr. Eline. How are you? Thanks for coming. Good, how are you?
Hi, some of you I know, some of you I don't know, so I felt that it's possible I should introduce myself. My name is Patrick Eline. I'm a lieutenant with the Southampton Fire Department. My full-time job is a firefighter paramedic in Easthampton, 21 years there. I've been a paramedic for 25 years. I've been working on an ambulance for 29 years, so I certainly have some background and was able to talk, and I think on behalf of Chief Workman, I think that's why he recruited me to come up here and speak in front of you today. So,
A quick question, how long have you been with Southampton?
2008, I started working.
you've been here a
under
few
Steve
years.
Hyde, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So, being it's my first time, hopefully I get it right. So at this point, where we're at, we are at 377 calls for fire and EMS. Some of those were done by us, and some of them weren't. As we all know, we've had some rocky roads in that regard, and the whole goal here is to try to fix that. At this point, as we all know about the paramedic, we're back online on August 7th and have been going strong ever since. At this point, we have, of course, our day shifts, which run from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, or Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, have been going very well. We've been able to get quite a bit of coverage. We do have some open shifts. Some of that has been from voids from folks who have left the fire department, and even though some folks have stepped up, there has been a few times where we haven't had anybody and we've had to rely on mutual aid. With that said, at this point for the month of September, we only have 5 open shifts for day shifts, and for night call, we have only 5 open night call shifts. So we're really striving and working hard to try to hire more folks. In fact, we have hired quite a few new members, and we're in the process of continuously hiring new members and trying to recruit qualified people. The chief at this point has been trying to hire folks who have no experience, and that's a good thing because we want to have that energy and that enthusiasm about the job, which we all fell in love with. I think that at this point we have a good group. Thursday night trainings, as you know, we've always done Thursday night trainings, have been very well attended as recent. Our summer trainings have been 10, 11, 12 sometimes members coming and doing fire department training on those Thursday nights. So that's been a very positive thing. We have some young guys and young women who are very energetic, and that is wonderful for us because that really makes a really nice environment for everybody. So the energy level has been up, the positive energy is there. The fire department is certainly working forward to trying to progress in that regard. As far as the equipment, I should say that the equipment is all in working order at this point. We have one ambulance that was recently out for air conditioning repair. It came back and is functioning normally. So both and all equipment is in service at this point. As far as the number of members at this point, we have 25 active members. We have, again, at least 3, possibly 4 that will be hired within the next month, and then we'll be able to be put onto the schedule, and so we won't have any gaps. As far as mutual aid, I want to touch upon that because sometimes I think it gets a little confusing for folks, and I'm sure that the fire chief has probably talked about it in the past, but it's my turn. And basically, mutual aid is a situation where if you don't have an ambulance or a fire truck available, you require another community to come into your community and take care of you. Well, it's a two-way street. I can give you an example. This summer, we had a mutual aid call for ambulance to Easthampton. We staffed it and went out there from Southampton. Within 5 minutes, the Northampton Fire Department called for our second ambulance, which we were able to staff and go out there and provide mutual aid to them. On our way back from the hospital, we had an ambulance call in our own community, which we were able to take care of with our own ambulance and take care of that as well. So as much as we depend on other communities to come in here and help us out, we do the same for others as well. So I think that's worth noting, and people need to know that that's happening. And it's a good cohesive relationship. There are times where we've provided paramedic level care to other communities as well as receiving paramedic level care. Hopefully we'll have no interruption in that level of care any longer. We have a Lieutenant Moret who has been very, very good as far as getting things going with that level, making sure we maintain the proper record keeping that the Department of OEMS needs us to do, as well as Cooley Dickinson Hospital, who's our medical control. So that's been functioning normally. Exciting new things coming up. Open house. We'll be having an open house in October. Date to be determined at this point. The SAFE program will continue at the Norris School. We do have folks who are interested in doing the SAFE program, one of those being Lieutenant Torrey, who is still involved with our department and trying to get that done. Another thing is community CPR. What we want to do is at the open house is actually have a station set up where folks can come in, show their interest in learning CPR. We will set up a date, and we will then provide a CPR course for anyone who's interested. So for a community outreach, the chief is very, very much for community outreach, and he's looking forward to doing that type of program. At that point, I really have nothing else unless you have something for me.
I have a question.
Fire away.
The open house, is it possible that you send that date when it's determined over to the school so they can put it in Tiger Talk?
Sure.
Because I think maybe if the kids get there and their parents get there and know that they're welcome, it might help to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. I'll
Yeah.
definitely make a note
And
of that.
that goes out sometime in the end of September, I think?
Okay.
So you'll
We'll
have
have it done
time.
by then.
Okay.
We're meeting this Thursday night, in fact, to discuss it. It's
And-
Thursday night training.
Oh, perfect. And do you know if there's been any other conversation about CPR training for the staff at the elementary school? Because I know it happened in June, but kind of short notice, and so some of us didn't,
I haven't
Get
heard
on top
anything
of it.
about that.
Okay.
But I'll check into that.
just wondering.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Thanks. Does anyone else have any questions?
Patrick,
Yes.
on the 17th, the capital committee is meeting relative to the large budget items that are coming down the pike. If the department needs stuff, it'd be good to start getting that information to us.
When
So
do
capital
they-
improvement,
October what? Or September?
September
17th?
September
17th.
17th.
I'm sorry.
6:30?
6 o'clock, but you don't need to be there at the very beginning,
Okay.
but get us the information so we can start, because everyone's going to be asking us
So
for,
it's our Christmas list is you're looking for, right?
let's not do that again.
Okay, cool.
Are there-
That written
You want me to dress up as Santa Claus like the old days?
Jackie?
Could you tell me about the mutual aid, what communities are involved?
Mutual aid is between Easthampton, Northampton, Holyoke, and Southampton, and Westfield. Anything, and West Hampton for that matter. So any neighboring or bordering community are the ones that we utilize the most. That doesn't mean that we won't go out to somewhere else. We're a part of a state task force, and if you remember in Russell years ago, there was a major fire, we were there. When Worcester, for instance, back in '99, when they lost their men, we sent an engine out. So it's not limited to just mutual aid here, it's really broad-based. For the most part, the ones we utilize the most are Westfield on that side of town and Easthampton on that side of town. And if both of those communities are busy, then we can get from Northampton. They'll send units available to us. West Hampton now has an ambulance, so we know that they have a resource there that if we require them. We just went to West Hampton just the other night for a possible structure fire, and we had a staff to go. So again, mutual aid is an important part of this, and I can't speak upon that enough, because as providing this level of care and doing it from both sides, I know that it's important that people need to know and the community needs to know that if they call 911, they're going to get an ambulance. Is it going to have Southampton on it? Maybe not. But that's okay, because our police department is incredible. They're fast, they're on scene, they're trained, they're providing the first initial points of care that need to be happening anyway, and there is no delay. Yes, do we want our own guys taking care of us? Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Is it always feasible? No, but we're striving very hard to work towards that goal of being 100% in compliance. That's never going to happen, and it doesn't happen everywhere. In Easthampton, with full-time, we have that community that constantly uses mutual aid on a regular basis, constantly, because there's not enough staffing. So we'll never be 100% because it's just not in the cards. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you.
I think that it's just important to note that in all of the conversations that we've had as a board and involving the fire department, this might be one of the first times where it's been very clear that Southampton actually answers mutual aid calls. It's not just Southampton receiving calls, but we actually go to other communities also, and I don't know that that's ever been as clear as it is right now.
Okay.
And so that's very helpful.
Excellent.
John?
Just a couple of questions, if you can. You said there was 377 runs total?
At this point, we're at 377. That includes EMS and fire.
When did that start? July 1?
No, it doesn't go fiscally. It goes by
Calendar?
calendar. Yeah.
Calendar.
So on January 1.
Okay. And do you have a breakdown of fire versus EMF?
I wish I did.
Would you
I
have
can
a
tell you
rough
probably about
idea?
an 80-20 split.
80-20 split?
That's what I would guess. That's kind of
okay.
the standard in the industry is about an 80-20, give or take 5 on either way. I can certainly get you those statistics if you'd like and furnish that.
If
for
we
you.
could get 80 on the EMS side, you're saying, right?
80 on the EMS side. Oh yeah, definitely. And again, that's standard wide. That's just the way it is.
Okay. And I guess the question I got to ask is, what's your opinion on how staff morale is at this point?
I think staff morale is better than it's ever been. I think that there was a negative element there that is now gone. We hope that negative element doesn't continue to have problems with us, but we have such a good group of people right now. We have an energetic, young group. We have energetic, enthusiastic professionals like myself who really want to see this be successful. And we're hiring people who have that same mental attitude that they want to see success. The primary function of any fire department and EMS service is to provide services when somebody calls 911. We want to be that. We want to be able to do that 24/7. And at this point, we're striving for that goal.
And I got to say, it kind of follows up what Liz said. I think this is the first time I've seen this kind of enthusiasm about the fire department and where you're going, where you came from, and just, you seem to want to tell us that story, which I really like. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
No, that was great. Any other questions, concerns? Thank
Thank you
you
very
so
much.
much for coming in. We really
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
That was a good update.
That was
Um,
That was really
excellent.
good.
May I excuse you, or do I need to stay for any potential questions from the?
I don't think so.
Okay,
No, but thanks.
great. Thank
Have
you
a
very
great
much.
night.
Thank you.
I'm going to go back up to the police department so I can try and stay in order. That's a pretty tough show to follow up, chief. Just saying.
That's all right, it won't be long. There really isn't much to tell the board about what's going on in the police department that we didn't already discuss 3 or 4 weeks ago. You know that we had 2 full-time officers who are out medically. One has returned to work, the other is going to be out for another 6 weeks, at least. I think he goes for his next test, physical ability test then. The part-time staff, we're still short there. One of our part-time officers should be being hired by Westfield as a full-time police officer, so that shortage continues. And everybody's certainly aware of the budget shortages that we've discussed. We're working on going forward on the new cruiser. But other than that, you pretty much know what's been going on.
Okay.
Just a question. Are part-time officers in general, is the being a part-time officer a second career and they're doing something else, but once they get the opportunity for a full-time police career, that's why they take it?
The majority of part-time officers are people who are seeking full-time law enforcement careers. Periodically, we're fortunate enough to get somebody maybe who's retired law enforcement, and they're just looking to pick up a little bit of extra work. Those folks seem to work out very well, they're very reliable, because they're not seeking work someplace else. That's not to say that the people who are seeking work someplace else aren't reliable, but those folks have full-time careers doing something else. They try to find a balance where they can devote time to us, devote time to their full-time jobs, which is a priority. If you recall, I've told you how there's been some shifts where, particularly on the midnight shifts, it's difficult to staff with part-time people because we have to let them go partway through the shift so they can get home, do what they got to do, and then get to their real jobs, So part-time, reliance on part-time is a difficult thing. And we're truly, constantly training people and part-time and having them leave. On the other hand, with the full-time officers, it's been pretty steady throughout the years. You know, we've had some very good retention of full-time people. You're certainly aware of the situation with Jeff Silva. Even though UMass was offering more money, had his position been funded, he would still be here with us, dedicated to the town and dedicated to the department at less money than what UMass has to offer. So, you know, we have a very good full-time staff. We've got a good part-time staff, but it's just difficult maintaining people.
Okay, thanks.
Ladies?
You want to say anything? I'd like to say something. Thank you for everything you do, but I wanted to say tonight, this afternoon, we had a young man come to our door, and he was trying to sell something, and he was kind of aggressive, and so I called the police because I felt unsure of him. So the Southampton police came within 10 minutes and notified the young man that it is illegal to solicit in neighborhoods, and he did go to another neighborhood. So I really want to thank you for the quick response from your cruisers. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? All right, thanks, Chief.
Okay, I just have one last thing for you, and that's to let you know, if you haven't heard already, that you're going to be short another officer, and that'll be myself. I'll be retiring this fall. So,
Don't you have to be at least 55?
That was my line.
And I noticed the smile got big.
I'm close. Close enough, so.
Well, thanks,
Okay.
Chief.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to move on to Highway. I was skipping, and then I got in order. I'm sorry. Oh, you look very studious today.
Okay. Allows me to read.
Where's Randall?
Good evening. So, is this on? Can you hear me?
It's on, yes.
Things are busy. We're currently working on pavement repairs, mowing, catch basin repair, vegetation control, and roadside mowing. That's all keeping our staff pretty busy. Procurement, I've charged Roger Jr., our mechanic, with working up specifications and quotes for the 1-ton approved through capital improvement last year, as well as a replacement for one of our small mowers that the old one is a 2003 and does not work anymore. I sent a letter to the select board, just copied you and the finance committee to let you know about that purchase. So both have been ordered and will be in soon. We completed a big project recently, the second of 2 erosion control projects at Conant Park. Our 2 highway foremen, Roger Sr. and Todd J. Roz, pretty much took over the project, oversaw them, and completed them, and they're great. I urge you to go over to Conant Park.
So all those fences are gone?
The fences are
You
gone.
can walk back and forth now?
Yep,
Okay.
they repaired both the spillway for the dam, and then off of the pavilion parking lot, there was a really bad gully forming, and go over and take a look at it. It's pretty impressive.
Great.
So they did that by their labor, and just we had to purchase the supplies?
Yes,
So it's saved us a large amount of money, I would assume.
I think so, yeah. For what we got, go over and look at it. I really, you have to look at it, just to
And
see
give them
the
our
project.
thanks, too.
Pardon me?
I said, give them our thanks, because people doing that, I think, are really dedicated
Right
and
on.
deserve to know that.
Other updates. I've hired a replacement for our former highway administrative assistant, and I'm getting her up to speed on the various aspects and duties of our department. I have not filled the vacant truck driver equipment operator position, but hope to do so before winter.
How many people do you have on your staff currently?
8?
And they're all full-time?
Yes. 8 or 9.
Okay.
Okay, so winter's coming. It's a good segue to the future. I have something for you guys that I'd like to put out there.
You're not 55.
There are currently currently 5 different subdivisions in various stages of development that I'm aware of. And there are at least a dozen other frontage lots for sale around town. I'm just wondering what the board's plan for the future is.
Great question.
In what respect?
In the respect that I've been told that increased growth, you never get in revenue what it costs you for services. And if we're already in financial crises, then the situation is not likely to improve if we have more growth.
So you're saying, once these subdivisions are accepted roadways and all of that kind of business, you're gonna need more
Well, you're
labor
gonna-
hours to plow them and maintain them and keep up with all of that,
Correct.
right? And then there's the water issue. I mean,
There's
we have all
water,
these-
there's going to be more kids in school, there's going to be more, I mean, I think it's not just my department this
Right.
affects, it's the town that it
Right.
affects. But for this winter, we just had sidewalks put in. Town's responsible for clearing the sidewalks on town property. We now have a sidewalk in front of Conant Park, the Clark Chapman Building, and a small section right down here. So that's going to be additional.
Wait a minute. So on all of the side roads and down Palmer Meadow Road, the town has to clear those?
No, just town-owned property. We own
Oh, I
Conant
see.
Park, we own
Yeah,
Clark
yeah, I
Chapman,
gotcha.
and Town Hall.
Okay, thank you.
We've been working on Don Snyder, our EMD, Heather and Catherine Ratt from PVPC. We've been working on updating our hazard mitigation plan. Heather touched on earlier on our building maintenance committee that we've been working on. And that's pretty much all I have. Do you have any questions?
Equipment-wise, you think we're ready for winter? I know you're getting a new truck, but the rest of it's all ready to go, serviceable and all that?
We'll be looking at that in the next couple weeks when stuff slows down. We usually hit a point where the grass stops growing and then we have chances to look at things like that.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I mean, you've always done
I expect so.
a great job in the past, so I don't want equipment to hinder you.
Is there an expected completion date on those sidewalks out there?
There may be, I don't.
You don't know
I
it?
don't know it.
Okay.
Now, are those going to be asphalt or concrete?
I
Asphalt?
believe asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns for Randall?
Did you want to just mention the DOT Safe Routes to School sidewalk public hearing that's coming up?
Oh.
I don't have the date, so if you
You didn't get in the, I don't have it on me,
I-
but
Yeah, I don't have it on
if
me
you
either.
look towards the, I believe it's the beginning of October, there's going to be a public hearing in this meeting, in this room on a day that the board's not meeting pertaining to the Department of Transportation Safe Routes to School sidewalks. So this is one sidewalk that's going in. This had to do with a joint project with multiple communities. Last year, the problem came up that people from Southampton were concerned that they didn't get notice of the public hearing. So DOT, working with them, we actually got them to come out and hold a special public hearing for, I think, 2 residents, so they could hear and have the opportunity to ask questions. It was a regional hearing last year. That was the problem, I think. This year, it's going to be a DOT Safe Routes to School sidewalk. It goes all the way down to, by Cumberland Farms, I want to say,
Yeah.
and up to, do you remember, Randall?
Doesn't it go to Gun Road?
I don't think it goes as far as Gun Road. They stopped it before that.
Okay.
I think in general, it goes.
It goes from here to
north.
Pomeroy Meadow.
Yes.
And then up to just past Cumberland Farms, and we talked about the sidewalk not going down,
That's right.
Cottage
The-
Country Garden, right.
right, not into there. For some
But it
reason,
will
I
go
thought
up
it went
Park.
as far
I
as
think it
Gun
goes
Road, but,
to Park Place.
okay,
I think that's where it terminates.
okay.
So when we had meetings on that, I think we discussed if we got the hearing going this fall, design phase maybe by spring and maybe hit it by the end of construction season next fall.
Because this has already been
the
put
hope.
off once, right? Wasn't it supposed to have started already, and it was deterred?
That don't, in my limited experience, that's not unusual.
Yeah, okay.
East Street and Glendale Road Extension are in the same program. Both have been put off multiple times.
All right, so if you get that date,
Yeah, we'll,
That would be
we'll
good.
put the hearing and all the information, they just sent it over yesterday or today, And we can put it on the website so folks have access to it, and it's already posted on my town government.
Okay, so maybe we could
Hearing.
send that over to Tiger Talk too, just saying, and probably parents would be happy
Sure.
to hear that there's more sidewalks going in. Anybody else for Randall? No?
I do want to say, my neighbor called you, she had a question, and you were really helpful and really upbeat, and she appreciated that.
Good, I'm glad.
And thank you for doing that.
All right, thanks, Randall. Oh, did you have one?
No.
Okay.
I'll get it later.
Board of Health? Hi,
Another positive, that was good.
you look like Shelley. I don't think you're retiring. I think we're good to
I'm
go.
not retired, I'm not 55 yet.
Okay.
Shelley O'Connell, Chair of the Board of Health. Not much, just want to bring you guys up to speed on things. We have a case in court regarding Gun Road and the trailer. Want to let you know the receiver's working on that. Everything should be cleaned up by the end of this month. We will do a final inspection, and we go back to court early October.
When you say cleaned up, you mean like all that business, just going to be land?
Yes.
That's
what
it.
we're hoping for. Completely cleaned up.
Be nice.
We have a flu clinic scheduled for October 21st. We are working with Rite Aid on that. We do not have a time for that, but that's actually something that we have that's upcoming. The school inspections that are ongoing right now, things are going very well with that. Everything's progressing in the right direction. And our biggest concern right now is the sharps. We have lost our grant through DPH due to larger cities and towns needing that grant money. And we are actually working on trying to get that back.
How much is it?
I don't have that total. I don't, Heather, do you know what
It's
that is?
around $3,000 annually, give or take.
That is a program that actually gets a lot of use here in the town. We have many people coming all the time and dropping off their sharps, so it's something we definitely want to keep going if we can do that.
And when do you get to reapply for the grant if you just lost? Did you just lose it?
I think it's coming up, actually. I'm not quite sure when it is for sure, but I know we have to start working on trying to figure out so that we can get, I think it might be the beginning of the year even.
Like the calendar year?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's for 1 year, you have to reapply every year? Is that?
Yes, you have to reapply for it every year.
Okay.
Yep. But
So
the biggest
you-
thing is the Gun Road that we're looking forward to having that done.
You wouldn't happen to know how Easthampton's dealing with
I
theirs?
do not know.
Did they lose theirs also?
I don't know.
You may want to talk to them.
Okay.
You might be able to partner up and piggyback as two communities. You may also want to talk to your local hospitals.
I know Cooley Dick, someone brought up Cooley Dick, and looking into that, so that was one of our options, was to look into.
Because the hospitals sometimes have, I guess we'll call it payment in kind to communities to sponsor health programs. So I would talk to Cooley Dick and I'd talk to Hoyoke.
Hoyoke, yeah.
The receiver that's cleaning up Gun Road, they have done their finances and everything's been approved by the judge?
I'm not quite certain on that. I just know that Jerry had just said that everything's going in the correct order, and it should all be cleaned up by the end of September.
All right, once they clean up, are they going to petition the court to auction the property?
I'm hoping that's going to be done probably in October when they go back to court.
All right. Because somewhere down the line, you're going to have to do full circle and come back to us relative to the outstanding balance that's due the town.
Yes.
Okay, just talking, just
Yeah, no,
remind everybody that that's still sitting out there. There's what, about $12,000
that's
somewhere?
about what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll want to grow blueberries there.
I'm sorry?
Maybe they'll want to grow blueberries there. It's close
Yes,
by.
that's a building lot, yeah,
Might be big.
it has value.
Are there any other questions or
All
concerns
fertilized.
for the Board of Health? No?
Anything else?
Nope.
All right.
That's it. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Well, that was successful. We had a joint meeting with the Parks Commission. What?
Emergency
Oh,
Management Director.
sorry.
Poor
Emergency
Dawn's been
management.
sitting there for like an hour.
I'm sorry. I was getting excited.
Oh, yes, get him up to the podium.
Because it's not like he has any relatives in the room.
Sorry.
Don Snyder, Emergency Management. Okay, I have some good news and positive things happening as well. Just wanted you to know Code Red, we're having a meeting this coming Thursday, September 10th, so we're going to be applying for the Code Red grant again.
Is
That's
that
a
an annual grant?
very successful program. It's something that this town really needed, and we can reach out to all members of our community or parts thereof. So, very important. And that'll be this coming Thursday, 9 o'clock in the morning, or again at 6, I believe it is, at night, something like
So
that.
you're going to that?
I'm going to
When
that.
are we going? The 9 or the 6?
The 9.
Oh, I'm definitely not going up there going.
Just wanted you to also know that we are indeed working on updating our comprehensive emergency management plan, the SEMP plan. That has to be done every year. We are working on that right now. We are going to call in probably Bonnie Roy from MEMA, who will help us on that initiative, but we are doing that presently. It was also mentioned by Randall that we are indeed working on our hazard mitigation plan update. That is also supposed to be done every year. And we're working with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission with that, and she'll be coming back again this fall. I wanted to talk a bit about possibly developing, because we don't have it, and that would be a warming center, cooling center for town's members, and a communication hub as well. So if there's ever a bad summer electrical outbreak or winter storm, the townspeople don't have any place to go to get information or to warm in the winter or cool in the summer. Every community has one these days, and we do not. We have been working, this is a federal program now, it's called the Community Rest Center. We spoke with the library. I had Reverend Noreen Cerner come in. She was under contract with the Homeland Security Advisory Council, and she came in during the summer, I think it was July. We spoke with the library about the possibility of using that as well. And that's a national endeavor now, using libraries, which we've not done in the past. And that came out of Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Ike, and Ivan, and they found out that that worked out well. We continue to be an active member in the Hampshire REPC, Regional Emergency Planning Commission. We've been a member of that since '87, and we continue to work with them as well. In this coming year, I am hoping to focus on training and possibly having a tabletop exercise with all of us and all departments. At least one. So just getting together and going through scenarios and just trying to see how we would handle them all. Basically, from my point of view, all departments work together well. I have good coordination with Public Health, Board of Health, Highway, Fire, Police, EMS, Town Administration, so it's good for me. So I have no problems at all that way. So other than that, do you have any questions?
Sounds all positive.
Yeah, great news.
Are we good?
Very good.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, that's 5 check marks. We were supposed to have a joint meeting with the Parks Commission, but they're not able to attend tonight, and we need to reschedule that. Open time for the public? Anybody? Okay. We're going to go to 4B, which is the review of the Alcohol Policy Ad Hoc Committee. Chief, I'm glad you're here because I have a question. So the board had previously held a hearing on the proposed alcohol regulations. At that meeting, the Board of Selectmen decided to create an ad hoc committee to further work on the alcohol policy. There was not any police department member present at that meeting, so we didn't have their opinion, and there's only been one interested party in participating on the said committee. So,
Owners of the bars, those folks express interest?
not that I'm aware of, so,
They were invited to it?
yes. I wasn't at that meeting, I did watch from home, and I saw all of that, and
We
I,
directed
right. So
to
here's,
have them come in.
here's my,
Those are the folks that this really impacts.
Right, so they're not here, so this is my question. A, we can't even get ourselves to the meetings that we're supposed to be at, so creating an ad hoc committee in which people are gonna be a part of, I find unrealistic. So I looked at the license, and it says Monday through Saturday, and this is where I'm asking what your opinion is, Chief. It says Monday through Saturday, you can sell alcohol from 8 to 1, and Sundays you can sell it from 12 to 1, right? So in order to not violate that license, you should allow people to sell alcohol till 1 o'clock. So my question becomes, would it, and I understand where the police department was coming from, if there's somebody sitting there at 1:15, what's the rule? If the rule is clear, then we don't have an issue. If the rule's unclear, which it obviously is, then we have a problem. So rather than creating an ad hoc committee, wouldn't it just be beneficial to not violate the rules of the license, which say 8 to 1? That allows the businesses to sell their alcohol until 1, and then the Board of Selectmen just needs to say, what time do you want everybody out of the bar? That's it. What time do you want everybody out? What's a reasonable amount of time for people to leave? And then write it down and give it to the police department so that they know, okay, it's 1:35 and the rule is 1:30, now we have a problem. It's 1:15 and the rule is 1:30, we don't have a problem. I think it's just being clear and specific about what the intent is and not changing the rules of the license.
That's what I was gonna talk to you folks about tonight, was, the license does go to 1 o'clock, so cut and dry, no patrons, no alcohol on the bar at 1 o'clock.
But if you can sell it until 1, here's my issue. If you can sell it till 1, and let's say I walk into the bar at 12:55 and they sell me a drink, it seems unrealistic to think that it's a good idea for me to drink that drink in 5 minutes. And so would it be more realistic, Chief, to say, okay, you can sell it till 1, at 1:15, we want everybody out? If you have a question, you're gonna have to go to the podium so people at home can hear you. But Chief, do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
I just want it to be clear to the police department that this is what our expectation is.
I presume Heather did some investigation on what other communities typically do.
Most communities have a last call policy, and also the last time folks can be in the premise. So
the
it just,
last call prior to,
it pretty much varies. I mean, the way we had proposed this initially, the reason we did it was because we were trying to put into language what the police department appeared to be enforcing in the first place to support the police department. If, it's like anything else, it's local policy. The Board of Selectmen can say, okay, we're going to have last call at 12:45, everything off the counters and tables by 1:15, and everybody out of the bar by 1:30 unless you work there. I mean, it's just up to the board and the police department to figure out what really works for folks. The Board of Selectmen is the local licensing authority in the town, so they have full jurisdiction over writing what this is. Same thing with saying what time the alcohol can be served to. Although the license may say you can serve till 1 a.m., Board of Selectmen is the policy setting. They're not restricting any of the hours. I think ABCC, if I recall my recollection on it, is like 10 p.m. is the earliest you can restrict their sales to. So if it's after that, it's full jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. So really it comes down to what works for the police and the board.
Because everywhere you go, there's a last call. That's just how it works, and they can't all be in violation of their license by, if it says 2 o'clock in Westfield and last call's at 1:45, you can't. It just seems like this ad hoc committee is unnecessary. Like, let's just make the rule and make it clear and not restrict the businesses from doing what they need to do.
Elizabeth, the time is really irrelevant, whether we're quarter of or 1 o'clock or whatever you decide to do. The
Right.
time is really irrelevant to us. We just need to have something set in stone. This is what it is, and then we can enforce it.
Right.
When we had that last meeting with the owners, they had requested it be closer to 1:30 or 1:45 to have all the patrons out. They had said they would stop serving, or they can't serve past 1. They needed at least 30 minutes, say, to get all the patrons out.
I mean, I'm not opposed to a last call, and having it be before 1 o'clock. If that's the time that you can serve till 1 o'clock, then a last call of 1:15 seems reasonable to me. And then everybody out by 1:15 seems like they've had a half an hour to drink whatever drink that is, and that also seems reasonable. I understand what the, you know, the owners are saying, but it doesn't take 45 minutes to drink a drink either, so.
I guess after listening to the owners and the other interested parties, if the license goes to 1 o'clock that you can serve, so let them serve till 1 o'clock, then say you've got 30 minutes after the last time you can serve to have the patrons leave. Why do a last call 15 minutes before they're legally able to serve?
Exactly.
The license says 1 o'clock, say, okay, you can serve up to 1 o'clock, care if it's 1 minute before, but you got to leave within 30 minutes of that license saying you can't serve anymore.
John, I think if I understand the way bars work and the like, so last call means I sit there and I'm the bartender. All right, folks, last call, 12:45, last call. That means Liz is now ordering, Jackie's ordering, Shannon's ordering, you're ordering, Charlie's ordering. Doesn't mean you're going to get your drink at 12:45. It means it's the last time you can order at 12:45. If the bar's packed, you may not be getting that drink till 12:50, if,
Yeah.
12:55. If you push it so the last call is literally the last moment they can serve, you're really blurring the line, because if Jackie walks in at 12:45, because she was at a hopping party down the street, she shows up, she orders her drink at 12:58, because it's before 1 o'clock and she can still be served, but now all of a sudden, John's busy as the bartender, and he doesn't get the drink to Jackie till 1:05. So is he in violation, or is Jackie in violation? Can the police enforce it? It gets really blurry.
Well, I think, excuse me saying it this way, but I think you're making it blurry. I think if the last call is 1 o'clock, it's up to the establishment, the bartender, if there's a long line, when it gets to 1 o'clock, they say, I'm sorry, I can't serve anymore.
Exactly.
And they turn it back. But they can set internally themselves to say, well, we're going to make a last call at 20 of, 12:30. That's up to them. All we're saying is legally you can serve till 1 o'clock, then after that, you got to have them out by 1:30. I think we're setting up too many rules.
There's too many rules.
Yeah.
The significant time of most important to us is when the alcohol's off the table, off the bar, and when the patrons are out the door.
After that, you don't
Last
care.
call is irrelevant.
You don't care about that. What time do you want everybody out of the building and the stuff off the tables?
Well, can I ask a question? If the last call is 1 o'clock, and I'm sitting at the bar 1 minute before and say, I want a beer. So you come in at quarter after, although I have till 1:30 to get out of there, and I bought it before 1 o'clock, I'm not in breaking any law, right? Just because I'm sitting there drinking my drink that got served before 1 o'clock?
Right, that's why I say the important time for us to know is when do you want that alcohol off the bar and the patrons out the door.
Well, again, off the bar, you mean I can't have my drink physically on the bar?
Right,
But-
done.
You know, we can't, what do we do, stand there and peek in the window and watch to see if they're sipping it or looking at it?
Right.
Well, what I'm saying, though, as long as I got it served to me before 1 o'clock, what does it matter?
I say we
Doesn't,
set.
he just wants to know what time
Exactly.
you want, he doesn't care.
1:30 is the time frame that there's no alcohol in the bar and no patrons sitting at the bar, then
Right.
they either abandon their
Right.
unconsumed drink, or they suck it down and get out.
Right, no, that's what I mean, yeah.
That's why I say the significant thing for us to know is what time there's no more alcohol in the bar and the patrons are required
Okay.
to leave.
So if we said 1 o'clock on this particular example, 1 o'clock is the last time they can serve, before 1 o'clock, and they need to be out by 1:30, that would be clear cut?
So can Heather write that up as 2 sentences?
Are you all on the same page that 1:30 is a reasonable time?
Well,
That's why I asked Elizabeth if you had any owners of the bars. I mean, they're the ones that know the practicality. How long does it take to clear the bars? Is Thursday night heavier than
Yes,
Friday?
that's what they asked for.
Right.
1:30, quarter to
You
2.
know, the dynamics of how
I did.
their operation works and what time they need to do that. So they know what that deadline is, no alcohol on the bar, no patrons sitting at a bar stool. And then they can adjust it, you know, or at least give input, or should have been here to give input to you folks to know what works for them.
yeah,
And again, I agree with what you said, John, and they should know, you know? They could even, if they had, you know, a concern, they could set whatever time they want, 10 of, quarter of,
Right.
whatever that may be, whatever they think they need to do to make sure that they're
Everybody's
in
gone.
compliance with the drop dead hour or
Right.
time. You know?
yeah.
And you haven't had any feedback from them after that meeting, Heather?
Well, I think the concern you're going to run into is at that meeting, it was the impression of those who were present and watching at home that the board was going to set up an ad hoc committee. So I think if the board was going to take another direction, since you guys already closed the hearing, it would probably be wise to hold another hearing on a very abbreviated policy that simply is that, have them all receive a copy ahead of time, have someone from the police department here in case there's additional questions as to how something would be enforced, and then to pursue that piece. But I think coming up with a policy that goes a different direction than folks were given the impression of last time would be misleading.
Okay,
And just to be clear, we're not interested in enforcing last call.
right.
Right.
We're interested in making sure that they're in compliance with the license which says
Right.
clear the bar.
Yeah, I think we need to let them run their business and give them guidelines where they know, and the same with your folks.
When we had said about the committee being formed, that was because there was so many rules to that alcohol policy. And really, if you listen to what they had said, all they had said was they could serve till 1. They wanted a reasonable time to clear the bar and get the patrons, which was 30 to 45 minutes. So I don't think you're going to hear any arguments from them if we don't cut that time shorter than the 1 o'clock and we give them the 30 or the 45 minutes to clear the bar. And then everybody's in a full understanding.
Right.
Yeah. I think,
Just so that you folks know, because this may have never come up before, but there are some nights where they close before 1. Some bars do, it's a dead night, they don't have the
Yep.
patrons there.
Right.
And they close up.
Yep.
and that's up to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just to follow what Heather said, I think we should put it on our next select board meeting, announce it that we're going to, what we're going to talk about, invite the owners to come in and say, here's what we got. Do you have any
Can
feedback?
we, Heather, can you draft that policy before then?
Yeah, I just need it revised from you guys one more time, just to hear, to make sure I have it correct. So you're saying 1:30 is,
You got to be out.
Well, now let me ask a question first. Are all the licenses, do they all end at 1 o'clock, or are there some before?
all
We
restaurants.
have 2 o'clock license, we used to have up to
Is there any,
2 o'clock license, everyone else should just be 1 o'clock. The only exception is that periodically at New Year's, you folks get requests to extend till 2.
so I think we should make the policy say
30 minutes.
30 minutes after the license permits you to serve alcohol. So if it ever changes, the policy flows with it. That's
And
my-
maybe you want to consider adding a section on the 2 o'clock license if it's granted.
But
To
would,
make it clear that it's inclusive to that, unless you're
well, if the policy says, a half hour after your license says you have to stop serving, so if it goes to 2 o'clock or, yeah. I just don't want to do this 2 months from now.
I think what John's saying, Chief, is that if someone was getting special permission to 2, they should get a 1-day license permitting it just for those hours, and the police department would get a copy and ABCC, so they know if they were out.
Makes
So
sense.
1:30 is, or 30 minutes after the license permits one to serve, is the last time patrons can be in the bar, or is the last time alcohol can be on the bar? Which one? Or both?
Both.
All the above.
Because I think one of the feedback pieces from the folks who were here last time, and from what I've heard from other folks, is that a lot of times what people do, especially if it's really busy, once everyone leaves, they then clear everything. So I just want to make sure.
I think by 1:30, that's a reasonable amount of time to have the bar cleared and be out of the building.
Okay.
I think.
Well, you're sending them a notice anyway, so you write it up as that, and then they can come in
disagree,
and.
then we can talk
Exactly.
about it.
I think it's important to keep it simple.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be too complicated. Okay, very good. We're moving on to Board of Selectmen liaison reassignments and assignments. So,
We get into that before the chief leaves.
He's not going anywhere.
There you go.
But go ahead.
Tells you I'm already getting up.
Well, as you know, the chief made quite an announcement tonight. And I'm liaison to the police department.
You now don't have a job?
Okay, go
I
ahead.
think I just got a bigger job.
Okay, go ahead.
And am I free to talk to the officers in the department and start strategizing how this is going to evolve?
Well, you're the liaison to the department, not to the chief, so. I would say
So I'm not
that's
to talk to the
okay.
chief, is that what I'm told?
Well, I mean, I don't, do you have a problem with that, chief, or?
No, not at all, and I would certainly hope that the select board is going to seriously look at the qualified people who we have within the department. I'm a firm believer that it's important to promote from within, typically unless there's a...
Chief, can you get up to the podium, please?
I'm a firm believer that it's important to promote from within. Unless a department is broken and you need to bring an outside influence to restructure a department, you know, you need to give qualified employees the opportunity to advance in the department. If you want to keep employees and you want to promote longevity, then you need to give people the opportunity to advance and be promoted. It's a very negative message to send to any department or any workplace that, you know, you don't have any chance on getting anywhere in your career. So I seriously hope that the department looks very closely at the qualified folks we have within. We have some very good officers and supervisors, and I hope that's the direction that you go. And I'll certainly make myself available to the board if you want me to participate in any selection committee that you put together, or there's, I mean, nothing that really requires the select board to even have a selection committee.
I was going to say, who hires for a police chief, us, or
Well,
what
the select board,
happens? We do.
yeah, you know, the only requirement in the personal bylaws is that there be a public posting of a position, but there's nothing that requires you folks to do any kind of a nationwide search or whatever. I mean, you know,
Okay.
So Liz, what I'm looking for is basically, is if it's comfortable, I'm going to start the dialogue with them to come back to us and see where we're going.
So we need to post it, so we need a job description and all of that.
Liz?
Yeah.
I would recommend, if the board's okay with it, with Charlie, myself, and the police chief working on this, because there's going to be a lot of steps we need to take. Do you have a ETA on retirement, chief?
middle of October.
Okay.
So we gotta
So
get
we
going.
don't have a lot of time to work with, but we're going to have to figure out some plan that's in place before he departs us, because you wouldn't do that without having someone else, would you?
I don't know,
You wouldn't do that to us, would you?
Okay. I'm okay
16
with
years as chief and 33 years and 10 months of public service is a lot.
He's counting down. So,
Tired.
but that would be my recommendation, is that Charlie, myself, and the police chief sit down as soon as both of them are available to figure out where we're at least starting on this process. And I have access to a lot of resources if we need to pull something in for job descriptions or anything like that, so we can figure out where we're going and find out what other communities have done, and also look at communities who do hire within and see what their process is.
that. Okay. I'm okay with that, Charlie. Anybody else have any issues with, no? Okay.
Sorry to see you go.
I'm not talking about it yet, not prepared.
Well,
Well, as I said, I'm available if you folks
Okay.
want me or need me
you staying in town?
for a while, for a little while.
Good.
All right.
Thanks.
So, can I
Which-
keep going now?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I'm just wondering if maybe we need to reconsider some of the assignments, and I guess what's important is that if you are the liaison to a committee, you have to go, because it doesn't do us any good. So I think the one issue that we always have is the liaison to the finance committee, because the finance committee meets at the same time that we do. So it's nearly impossible for us to get to that meeting and be effective. So I was looking at the liaison list. The Public Safety Complex Committee has dissolved, so John doesn't have to be a part of that anymore.
Set me up.
I'm wondering, Shannon, the Board of Assessors generally meets at the same time as the Finance and the Board of Selectmen, right? Tuesday nights.
We meet at 4:30, the assessors.
So, but if we had a meeting at 5:30, the Finance Committee usually meets at 5:30. It's hard.
No, yeah, I'm on.
There's no getting around that. So is there a way, Jackie, that you can take over the Finance Committee?
No, I have too much going on.
Okay. So somehow we need to get somebody to the Finance Committee meetings. So whether that's asking the Finance Committee to move the day, or whatever the case may be, it's coming up on budget season, and,
How are the roles split out now?
well, I'm looking, so, and just correct me if I'm wrong, Almoners is Shannon, CPC is Jackie, Finance Committee is Shannon, Fire Department is Charlie, Greenway is John, Highway is Charlie, Master Plan is John. I have the School Committee and PQB. Charlie has police, I mean, it has the police department, and Jackie is the alternate to the ZBA, which they don't meet very often, right? So, and CPC is once a month.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead, Charlie. I think that we should probably quarterly change the liaison to the major departments so that people don't get stuck in one spot. And it probably is very daunting to be the liaison to all three major departments, because if all three major departments are having an issue, then you're completely overwhelmed. So I would say at this point, it might be beneficial to everybody on the board to get a good sense of what's going on generally, that three people split up and take fire, highway, and police, and we rotate. So
I don't think it should be every 3 months. That's too short. of a
whatever the
time.
case may be, but it shouldn't be stagnant for sure. So I'm willing to take on the highway department and be the liaison to the highway department. I think Randall and I have a good, rapport and are able to communicate effectively, and that might be a good choice for me at this point.
And I have no problem taking on the police department because that's going to be really active now.
Okay, so you're going to stay with the police department. I'm going to take the highway department. Jackie, can you take the fire department?
Shannon was going to do that.
All right, so that gives Shannon,
I'll take fire.
well, then she needs to give something up, because that puts her at a million different things. If you want the fire, that's fine. I'm happy to do that. So then, Jackie, can you take the almoners?
Well, the owners meets never.
Once a year.
Sure, that sounds great.
That's not a good committee assignment, to be fair. Who's got the finance committee?
You do.
Shannon.
No, I don't.
Shannon, and it's impossible for her to get there because she's on
Yeah.
Board of Assessors, and
That don't work.
It
Jackie,
doesn't.
can you take the finance? Can you take any of them?
No, I mean, I'm doing a lot of other things.
But I mean, we have these assignments, we all have to take.
We
a fair share.
alternate. I can do one, somebody else can do one.
it's just hard. I mean, it would
I
be
know.
helpful if they were not meeting on Tuesdays. I had finance committee for a while and couldn't make it to single meeting. So by the time I get out of work and get home and feed the kids and,
Oh, I
get
know
back
all
here.
about that.
yeah.
I hear you.
All right, so fire's all set, so then we needed someone to the Board of Health and Board of Assessors, because those are also two major places that there's a lot going on, and there's no selectmen present.
Well,
When do they meet?
I can do the Board of Health as long as the schedule isn't a problem. But I certainly have the background.
When does the Board of Assessors meet?
Board of Assessors means right before this one.
Maybe.
Right, which
I've been
doesn't
going to
make
the
any
Board of
sense.
Health one. It's on Monday.
All right, so Charlie, why don't you take the Board of Health? That is a logical assignment.
I'm in court with them anyways.
So that leaves the Board of Assessors and the Finance Committee,
When does the Board of Assessors meet?
right before this.
one.
What time?
4:30,
Oh, jeez.
I know.
How often?
every week, almost.
Right now they're weekly. John wouldn't make it back in traffic. He has trouble with
What?
my
I'd have
6
to take-
o'clock
I'd have to take
meetings.
vacation time every time.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I can bring the notes
How hard is it?
from the meeting.
Well, here's my other question. Is there any way that we can, correspond with the Finance Committee and say, can you just meet on a different night?
Well, they have been normally meeting on Monday nights, the Finance Committee. No, they've been meeting on Monday nights for the past month or so. Tonight they met on Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday. They ran out of options. They have been meeting on Mondays, right?
Push it out.
Let's see.
I'm just trying to make this as fair as possible, because I know that there's a lot going on. So I'm just trying to see who has what and how many.
Calendar in front of me, or do I?
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, the only thing that we need to fill is Finance and Board of Assessors, but here we go. The Almoners is Shannon. CPC is Jackie. Finance Committee, I'm going to leave open. Fire Department, Shannon. Greenway, John. Highway, Liz. Master Plan, John. School Committee, Liz. Police Department, Charlie. PQB, Liz. ZBA, Jackie. That leaves Finance Committee, Board of Health is Charlie. Okay, so that leaves Finance Committee and Board of Assessors. Everybody has 2 departments, I have 3. So,
I will take another one, but it's got to be one that is
feasible.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Just one concern, I just wouldn't want, Shannon's an employee of the town, so I want to make sure that if it's a department head who's normally here during the day, that the fire chief doesn't need to be in Shannon's office at 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. Like, Shannon cannot be available to the fire chief if she's doing Board of Assessors work, because
Right.
we run into the problem between employee versus elected official, and I don't want to see those lines, but I don't want to put her in that position.
Right.
Where she's trying to do her job for this, but she's trying to do her job for that, and there's a conflict.
I concur. So, John, do you want to take fire department?
I will give it a try.
And then Shannon, let's see if we can figure out a day that the finance committee meets that's,
They do Monday nights
is that bad?
regularly.
Good? Mondays?
We've been doing Mondays at 5, with the exception of this week because of the holiday.
And Board of Assessors can't be Shannon because she works in the Board of
I'm already
Assessors.
there at that meeting.
I'll tell you what, they meet before we meet, right?
Yeah.
Put me on, I won't be attending every meeting, but I'll try.
But doesn't that give you 4?
That gives him 3.
The one that's gonna take the most time is gonna be the police department, all because of what's going on right now.
So the only one that's up in the air is Finance Committee. Charlie and I both have 3 committees. John has 3 committees. Shannon and Jackie have 2. It would be reasonable to say that the 2 of you could alternate back and forth and make it to the meetings if.
Which one?
Finance Committee. If you 2 alternated on that one.
What time do they meet, 6?
They've been meeting 5, which is nice, except it cuts into my walk.
How often do they meet? Once a month?
Well, with
They've been
budget
meeting
season
almost,
coming.
I think it's almost every week at this point. They've been meeting regularly.
And I'm on
Every
the
other?
capital committee too.
So I think usually weeks that we have Board of Selectmen, they usually meet the Monday before, so a day before.
On an off week from us.
Changed to Mondays too. They would meet Tuesdays for a very long time.
At least if it's Mondays and it's every other, then you end up at 1 a month instead of 2 a month.
Right.
Is that okay, Jackie?
Sure.
Okay, so we have Shannon and Jackie who will alternate the Finance Committee meetings. Heather, can you send an email to them and with Jackie and Shannon's email so that everybody can be aware of what's going on, and then Jackie and Shannon can figure out who can go to which one?
Yes, and just in case folks don't know, if you go to mytowngovernment.org and you
Can get-
sign in, if you don't have a sign-in already, you can sign up to get any notices for any of the meetings you want. So if you're a liaison to a board or committee, it might be worthwhile to sign up for their
Yeah.
emails, so you get oh, look, I've got 13 emails because Heather changed it 12 times.
I've been noticing that.
Do you have,
Keep it up to date, Charlie.
Emily, did you get all of that?
Minute.
Who's who to what, or no? I'm going to go through it one more time, then I'm going to pass you my notes so you can have them. Almoners is Shannon. CPC, Jackie. Finance Committee, Shannon and Jackie. Fire Department, John. Greenway, John. Highway, Liz. MPA, John. School Committee, Liz. Police, Charlie. PQB, Liz. ZBA, Jackie. Board of Assessors, Charlie. And Board of Health is Charlie. Yeah, that does give Charlie an extra one.
I've been going to the Board of Health meetings. Shirley said she was going to submit something
Liz.
to you stating.
Capital Improvement Committee,
Capital Improvement Committee. She's going to submit something?
Yeah.
teach you to
I'm not
retire.
sure I'm on board, or being their
Damn
liaison.
fool that I
They're
am.
going to their meetings.
But I got the handicap.
I'll second that. Oh. Hey, you're doing it. Good
Maybe
deed.
between you and Charlie,
Doing-
somebody gets there. Just, I think it's important that we're, will you pass that down? Okay, we're moving on to fiscal 17 budget, Board of Selectmen goals and priorities. The fiscal 17 budget is underway for planning once we get into October. The Board of Selectmen has previously discussed setting up an all-day meeting to discuss our goals and priorities. Do you guys still want to do that? A working meeting, an all-day meeting? You're killing me on the all-day.
Is this our retreat?
I like to call, I don't like retreat, makes me think we're gonna do like
Liz and I will
trust falls
alternate
or
baking.
something. So do you wanna set a date for that? Do you wanna pass over that at this point? Do you wanna still think about it? Oh, Charlie's got his calendar out.
I'm happy to invite people with the system we used last time. I can go through either Fridays or I assume Saturdays people are probably more free on than during the week. And I can
you
send
pick it at-
something out for the next couple months of some various dates and.
Yeah,
see
why don't
who's
you send
available
out
when.
some various dates?
Can you do a doodle poll?
Can I do a what?
Doodle poll? You ever do a doodle poll?
Oh, what I did, yeah,
Don't you
yeah,
last time?
yeah.
That's great, yeah,
Isn't that wonderful?
yes.
We love free.
All right, why don't you set out some dates and then we can revisit? Is that good?
Will do.
Okay, thanks. On another note, we need to begin thinking about how we want to proceed with budgeting this year. We've traditionally followed an incremental budget process where we look at revenue predictions and then level fund departments and spend within the revenues. However, there's another way to consider, which is outcome-based priority budgets. Heather, why don't you explain that?
So that's something we need to talk about when the board gets to their goals and priorities.
Gotcha.
But essentially what it is it's a different way of looking at things. So instead of looking at, I have $20, I have 5 departments, I'm going to give everyone $2 because I always give everyone $2. It's what are the goals of the board? What are the goals of the town? Maybe the town decides that the most important thing is to have a 100% fully staffed police department, which is 12 full-time members, and to have 5 police cars and et cetera. What would the cost of that be? And you fund that before anything else. It's higher ranked. It's almost like what the capital improvement did last year, capital improvement committee, where they ranked every project in its importance, and then they said, okay, this is the amount of money we have to spend. They start at the top, and when they're out of money, they're down the grocery list. The other thing to think about this is, it may not be public safety. Maybe the town's most important thing is saying, we're underfunding schools and education, and our goal wants to be 125% of net school spending is at this year. We want to increase, maybe we want to decrease class size, maybe we want to increase paraprofessionals in classes, whatever it may be. There are guidelines out there and other samples of communities. Newton did a really nice one with visual aids of what their goals were, how they got to them, and how they follow up on it. But it's just another idea, and if it is something the board's after and interested in pursuing, it's probably not something that can be done all in one year, but it's a direction to take, as opposed to trying to figure out how to give the exact same stuff and just keep cutting costs to the point where every time we do that, it means we're cutting staffing hours, we're cutting resources, we're cutting training. Is that really where the town wants to go with that?
I think that's what we're going to do at the retreat.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's ideal for that.
Okay. So we don't have any PCFs at the moment. We do have a payment of unused vacation time for completion of the position as the highway administrator for Joyce Skypack in fiscal 16. So Joyce worked 50% in the highway department as an administrative assistant in the accountant's office. As of July 1st, she only works in the accountant's office and has requested vacation pay earned from the highway department. The payout is in the amount of $615.75. Did everybody come to a consensus on that, Randall? Heather, this is the right number?
As of 7:34 this morning, Randall was at 616 and 2 cents, and 2 minutes later, or a few minutes later, the treasurer's office came to 615.75. So, given the treasurer is the official keeper of the numbers, and since it's a difference of, I think, like 27 cents.
The difference is caused by me putting out the entire formula, if you want to get into the minutia of it, was caused by me putting in the whole formula into an Excel instead of keeping track of, if you're familiar with significant digits, basically.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the payout in the amount of $615.75?
Yeah, just a quick question. This is earned time owed to her. There's no questions on it or anything, right?
And this is probably the same process that we have done. in-
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
then if that's, then I'll make the motion, we pay it out to her.
Is there a second? Second, I don't know. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do they want to look at that?
Yeah. Ladies, are you in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear you. We don't have any licenses at this time. We do have a contract for phone savings. So Rob Chambers belongs to the Chamber Advisory Group. He's taken a look at our Verizon bills and spent time meeting with the town and filing paperwork to review overcharges and out-of-contract costs with Verizon. He's worked with us to recover over $3,000 of overcharged fees from Verizon for our phone services for the town and has now had our rates updated. His cost for the service is 50% of the recovery. The 50% split would be $1,606.48. So I would accept a motion to sign the contract.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just a note, that came in already as a credit on our Verizon bill, and it also reduced our Verizon bill from a monthly rate of, I think it was $630 to $560 a month. So we'll continue to see $60 plus savings moving forward.
Good, thank you. We have an S&E contract. We recently began review of our maintenance contracts, and it was brought to our attention that this contract for S&E, our HVAC maintainers, has never been signed. It was in effect from fiscal 13 through fiscal 16. Does the board wish to motion to sign it this time?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have warrants. Has everyone had a chance to look at the warrants, or are you still working on them?
We signed them.
You already signed them all?
These ones I gave you, Jackie?
No, that's
Different ones.
They're blank again.
If someone would like to read the warrants, that would be great.
Okay, I'll read the ones I have here. Okay, Warren W16-10 for $29,851.15. It's a treasury warrant.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Here, they're all right here, Tom.
That's all. Which one did I just read? 1610? Okay. Payroll warrant PD 16-9 for $32,315.31.
Why don't you read them all, and we can motion to approve them all at once?
Okay, payroll warrant 16-9A for $115,543.39. Warrant 16-10A for $2,227.60. And warrant P16-11 for $229,640.65.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We have minutes from August 25th to approve. Has everyone had a chance to look at them?
Yes.
Everybody have, yes? I would accept a motion to approve the minutes from August 25th.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in
Second.
favor? Aye. Our next meeting is September 22nd. Heather, what time are we meeting on the 22nd? Is it a big agenda, or is it a regular agenda?
I won't know if it's big or not at this point.
There's nothing special about it.
I'm going to say until such time that we wrap up collective bargaining, that we either need to start meetings earlier, or that we're going to have a few special meetings in order to accommodate them.
What time would the board like to start?
6?
6 is fine with me.
Ladies, is 6 o'clock on the 22nd, okay?
Fine.
So our next meeting is the 22nd at 6 o'clock. We also have a special town meeting tentatively scheduled for October 20th. Anything else? At this time, we're going to move into executive session. We will not be returning to open session. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, Number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Heather, do I have to read every one that says number 3, or can I skip?
You can just say what it is, so it's just going to say like CBA, highway,
Oh,
CBA.
number 3 for CBA, for the police and dispatch. Under number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for collective bargaining for CBA police and CBA police dispatch. For number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for CBA highway, and to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for collective bargaining CBA highway. By roll call vote, please.
Konecki, yes.
Martin, aye.
Moulton, aye.
Sears, aye. Cutler, aye.
Thank you all for coming.
I'll take a 2-minute break.